Welcome back to All This Math. This is Professor Parker, and today we're doing some Keystone Algebra 1. Keystone Algebra 1. If you're familiar with the Keystone, if you're not familiar with the Keystone Algebra 1, it's the standardized test that students in the state of Pennsylvania have to take. Typically, it's taken either in eighth grade or ninth grade, or until you earn a passing score, a score proficient or advanced on it. I believe you may take it repeatedly, you know. So we're doing some practice, some released items that you can find online. All right, here's one of them. But of course, make sure you are subscribed to the All This Math YouTube channel. Make sure that you drop a comment down below. Make sure you share this video with somebody, and make sure you like the video. All right. So as I said, we're doing some Keystone Algebra 1 example problems, and this is one of them. So let's first read the question. Right, read the question. All right, try to make sense of the question, try to understand what the question is asking us to do and what information is giving to us. The question says, what are all the values of A that make the inequality, the square root of A, greater than A squared true? All right, that might sound like a lot. So let's read it again. What are all the values of A that make this inequality right here, square root A is greater than A squared, true? Because certain values of A, like meaning if you replace A with certain numbers will make this a true statement. Certain numbers will make it a false statement or a lie. All right. And as I say, one of the major purposes of math, one of the main purposes of math is to establish when the truth is being told or not. Right. Correct answers give us the truth, incorrect answers give us lies. All right. So we got the square root of A is greater than A squared. Now, this is a multiple choice question. So what we can do is actually substitute these values that we're given and see if it gives us a true statement. So let's do this. Let's start with choice A. Choice A says A equals 0, meaning when A is 0, does this make this a true statement? So are we saying that 0 square root of 0 is greater than 0 squared? Is that true? Then what is the square root of 0? The square root of 0 is 0, right? Because 0 times 0 is 0, so therefore the square root of 0 is the number 0. And what's 0 squared? That's 0 to the second power, or 0 times 0, which is also 0. So this would be 0, and this will still be 0. So is 0 greater than 0? No, 0 is not greater than 0. Since 0 is not greater than 0 because 0 is equal to 0. So therefore 0 is not a good answer. So let's cross that off. All right. Now, what if A was greater than 1? There's an infinite number of possibilities if A is greater than 1. A could be 2, it could be 1.1, 1.2, 1.5. A could be 3, it could be 9, it could be 10, it could be 20. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a perfect square value, right? Because all it's got to be is greater than 1, right? It could be any number as long as it's greater than 1. I'm going to use a perfect square because a perfect square is easier to simplify if I put it in the radical sign. Because remember, we got to test this out, right? So I'm going to pick 4. And let's see what happens when I pick 4. We get the square root of 4 is greater than 4 squared. Now, why? Again, in case anybody didn't understand this, why did I pick 4? Because 4 is a perfect square. And I can pick any number greater than 1. I could pick 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I could pick a decimal. I could pick a fraction, an improper fraction that's greater than 1. I could pick a billion. I could pick 10 million, as long as it's greater than 1, as long as the A is greater than 1. A is the variable that represents the number that we're looking for. All right. I chose 4 because the math is easy, right? Because I know the square root of 4, I know that's 2. And 4 squared is 16. So then we end up with this. 2 is greater than 16. Is that true? Is 2 greater than 16? No, it is not. 2 is not greater than 16. So we know that B is wrong. All right. So we're using process of elimination here. All right. Now we get to choice C. Don't let choice C intimidate you. All right. This means that this says 0 is less than A, which is less than 1. So that means the value of A is between 0 and 1. The value of A is between 0 and 1. So we're looking for a fraction. And it could be any fraction. It could be 1/3. It could be 1/2. It could be 2/3. It could be 5/8. It could be 3/5. It could be 4/9. It could be 7/8. It could be 99/100ths, right? Just understand that a fraction is less of, it could be every proper fraction is less than one, right? And also greater than zero. Now it's not equal to zero because this is not a less than or equal to sign. This is just a less than sign. And this is also a less than sign, right? So we could pick any fraction. Just like I could have picked any number greater than one in choice B, I could pick any fraction. All right. So what I'm gonna do is, because again, this square root, I gotta deal with up here. I'm gonna pick 1/4. I'm gonna pick 1/4. Why am I picking 1/4? Because 1/4 is a fraction made up of a numerator and a denominator that are both perfect squares. And I can pick any fraction as long as the value is between 0 and 1. So what we got is we're gonna have square root of 1/4 is less than 1/4 squared. Is that true? Now, what is the square root of 1/4? We break it down part by part. The square root of 1 is just 1. The square root of 4 is just 2. So the square root of 1/4 is 1/2, because 1/2 times 1/2 equals 1/4. Or think of it like this: 1/2 of 1/2, because of means multiply in math language. 1/2 times 1/2, or 1/2 of 1/2, is 1/4. So this is going to become 1/2. And then this over here, 1/4 squared, 1 squared is 1, 4 squared is 16. Is this a true statement? Yes, it is. A half is greater than 1/16. 1/2 is greater than 1/16. All right. 1/16 is like you take an object, divide it up into 16 equal parts. 1/2, you take an object, divide it up into 2 equal parts. Right? Think about a pizza. You got a large pizza, circular pizza. You cut it up into 16 slices. How big is one slice? You take that same large circular pizza, cut it up into 2 slices, cut it into 2 slices, slice down the middle. You got 2 slices. Which pizza is going to give you bigger slices? The 1/2 is a bigger slice than the 1/16. All right. So this is a true statement. All right. Another way to compare fractions: cross multiply. I call it the Malcolm X method of comparing fractions. 16 times 1 is 16. You take that product, you write it above the numerator. 2 times 1, take that product, write it above the numerator. 16 is the bigger number than 2. The bigger number is written above the bigger fraction. 16 is written above 1/2. So 1/2 is bigger than 1/16. All right. So that means that choice C is going to give us the correct answer. Now, because we got some time, let's make sure choice D is also wrong. All right. Because there should be only one correct answer on these multiple choice questions on the Keystone Algebra 1 exam that you'll see in Pennsylvania. All right. So let's see if A is equal to 1, just like choice A was equal to 0. Let's see what happens. Square root of 1 is greater than 1 squared. The square root of 1 is 1. 1 squared is 1. Is 1 greater than 1? No. 1 is equal to 1. 1 is not greater than 1. 1 is equal to 1. They have the same value. So therefore, D is also incorrect. So the correct answer is C. All right? Because, and now if you'd have picked a different fraction, if we'd have picked 4/9, we'd have got the same thing. Right? Now, why would I pick 4/9? Because 4/9 is a fraction that's made up of a numerator and a denominator that are both perfect squares. How does that help me? It makes the math easier because I know I got to take the square root, right, of that value. So if I take the square root of 4/9, I end up with 2/3. All right, let's do that real quick. We got time. So square root of 4/9 is greater than 4/9 squared. That's going to be 2/3. 4 squared is going to be 16. 9 squared is going to be 81. 16 81st. Yeah, this is definitely bigger than that. Definitely. Also, we can use the Malcolm X method for comparing fractions to confirm. Go diagonal. 81 times 2 in an X formation. 81 times 2 is 162, right it above there. 3 times 16 is 48. 162 is a bigger number than 48. 162 is written above 2/3. Therefore, 2/3 is the bigger fraction. So this is a true statement. 2/3 is greater than 16/81. All right. And that's an example of what you might see on the Keystone Algebra 1 exam. You just got to be familiar with these questions. That's it. That's really all it is to it. All right. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you drop a comment down below. Make sure you share this video with somebody. Make sure you like the video. All right. I'll see you next time.